Hey guys, what's up? It's Vodka here again with another video about the fighting game beginner series tutorial. This time I'm going to be talking about how to use an arcade stick. Now, an arcade stick is my preferred controller of choice when playing fighting games. I didn't always use an arcade stick to play fighting games. In fact, when I was small, I did play arcades I did actually go to the arcades to play, but they had American sticks and they're whatever. I was a kid, I didn't really think too much of it, but I spent most of my time using something like a Super Nintendo controller or my Genesis controller to actually play Street Fighter. So I was actually very comfortable using a pad, but at some point when Street Fighter 4 came along and I decided to pick it up again to really play fighting games again. I didn't really play for a very long time and decided I really wanted to learn the genre. And at some point I realized, oh, I should probably invest in an arcade stick to play these games because I couldn't do some of the stuff that the more advanced players were doing and talking about. And eventually I just went and bought myself an arcade stick, but I was using the PS3 controller for probably maybe 6 months to a year before I bought myself an actual arcade stick and decided to learn how to use one. So why do I use the arcade stick? Well, first of all, it's just fun for me. I think it's just a fun mechanism to use. I have my stick here, which I bought a little bit ago, which is the Victrix Pro and the Kami edition. I actually replaced some of the parts that came with it. This just has a regular old Sanwa joystick with Sanwa buttons. Pretty typical of your Japanese arcade stick style. It has a square gate within it, and that's what I learned on essentially when I was learning Street Fighter 4. So why I like using an arcade stick is that I am able to just hop on an arcade machine, a candy cab, and to be able to play and just be used to it, the method of control, instead of needing to use a pad or a hitbox or something. I'm just able to play. And the games that I play are typically played on the arcade, or they came out during the arcade era, so they're designed for the arcades. And I think using the method of control of choice in the era of the game those came out in is the intended method of play for the developers of the games and pretty much what everybody played with at the time of the game. So I want to get the most authentic feeling of playing the game itself at the time the game was being played. And that's why I prefer to use the actual arcade stick. Now, there are different kinds of arcade sticks depending on where you grew up. You may not know this. There's Japanese sticks, there's American sticks. They have bat tops versus ball tops. As you have seen here, I have a ball top, and also spring tensions in the sticks are different. You can also change those out. You can customize your sticks as well. There's also Korean levers, American. So people are generally prefer the sticks that they grew up with when they played as a kid, and they just kind of carry that along. They're most used to using that kind of controller. So when I decided to buy a stick, my first stick I bought actually made the mistakes of buying a kind of a cheap Hori stick, like the cheapest one you can get. Just because I never used a stick before, I was like, whatever. I don't know how to use it yet. I might as well get a cheap one just to play around with. When I got it, I played with it a little bit, and the buttons didn't feel great, and the lever didn't feel great either. I'm just like, this thing doesn't really feel that good. But I was lucky that I found a sale for the first TE stick the Mad Catz was putting out at the time. The Mad Catz started putting out actually quality sticks when Street Fighter 4 came out, and their original TE stick was actually very well built, and they had Japanese parts, Sanwa parts, and it was only for $100 I saw for sale. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get it. I'm gonna get a better stick and then learn on that. And it took me probably about 6 months to get to my level where I was at with my pad, my PS3 pad, to get to that on my stick. Initially, I was not good, and I wasn't able to do a lot of things that I wanted to do, and it was still kind of frustrating. And I really told myself that I can't just go back to the pad because it wasn't working out initially with the stick. So I stuck with it for about 6 months. Eventually, it became more natural, and I got better. Now, I wanted to use the stick because I could do techniques like pianoing the buttons. I couldn't really do that on the pad. Also, plinking was a technique in Street Fighter 4. That you can't really do that unless you have some face buttons. And there wasn't really any hitboxes at that time. This is, I want to say, 2009-ish. that period. So mostly it was either arcade stick or just a pad controller. That what people were using when they were playing. As you're watching this video, you might be thinking, well, sticks are kind of expensive. I don't want to spend the money on that thing. Well, I like to say that I've bought quite a number of sticks over the years, and I've gotten pretty good at, I guess, finding the deals on the sticks. Either you can find them on sale, or I think the best method of buying a stick, if you're not sure about it, is to actually buy it secondhand. If you go onto Facebook Marketplace, a lot of people are selling their old sticks that they bought maybe at the time they thought I was going to really get into fighting games, really get good. And then, you know, what happens, like an instrument like a guitar or something, they tried it a little bit, they didn't stick with it, they barely used it, it got stuck in a closet, they never used it again. They're like, oh, let me try to sell this. And generally, they're like, I don't want this sticking around. So they sell it for pretty good discount. You can get a nice, I saw a lot of TE sticks for sale, and they're only like $50-$60 that I bought. I bought another original TE stick in great condition. It looked like it never saw the light of day. There wasn't any, because my stick I used a lot, and you can see the sun getting to it and the colors coming off of it, but his stick was like in pristine condition, and I bought this for like $40 off the guy, and it was great. So keep an eye out for deals in Marketplace. You can get yourself a real easy, nice, cheap stick, and you can also modify them, which I do to my sticks. I do spend the money to get a universal brook board inside of them because of the input latency, that performance, they're good, and also they work with any new consoles, anything. I don't need to worry about an old 360 stick not working with the modern PS5, for example. You mod it with a brook board or something else that's more modern, it'll be able to adapt to any board. And generally, they're pretty easy to mod. I did it myself, it wasn't that hard. You can follow tutorials. Now let's get into controlling the stick. If you're still around watching this video, I assume you kind of are interested in using a stick or learning how to use a stick. Well, the first thing I would like to say is you want to choose the kind of grip on the stick. So I just hold it like this, just nothing fancy. Just, I think they call it the typical hold. There was a diagram I saw back. There might be like 9 kinds of different ways to hold it, but typically you hold it like this. Some people hold it like this, which I find odd. Or some more commonly, they can hold it like wine glass like this. They stick their finger in here and then play it like this. But I just hold it like this. It's the most comfortable for me. Find what's comfortable for you. You can try different things, and eventually you do it enough, your brain's just gonna use it, even like if you're holding like this. The next thing is, when you're using a stick in the beginning, what I notice most beginners are when they're trying to play fighting games using sticks is that they're using way too much energy than they need to use. They're like forcing it, like they're all tense. They're like forcing it and mashing the buttons and doing it like this, and it's not really accomplishing anything. You have to think about it again, like kind of like an instrument. Like doing it harder is not gonna make things better. In fact, it will actually make things worse. Being tense is probably your #1 enemy of trying to use a stick properly. You want to be relaxed. I want to say, you want to see kind of like a technician or like a musician, like a Mozart kind of a guy playing using a stick. Check out how Matsun uses the stick. Matsun, he's a ST player. He uses a Ken. He's one of the best Ken players in the world. You watch his fingers, like it looks like it's very relaxed. It looks like he's playing an instrument, and I think that's how you should be. You should be relaxed at all times. And even now, when I'm using a stick, if I'm trying to do something, I'm trying to learn something new, I do find myself also tensing up a little bit. For example, when I was learning how to do paint defense with Dictator, I was from this direction, like I just found myself getting really tense, wanting to get the paints down, just getting the paints down, and like I would tense up, and I was like, oh no, I messed up. But it wasn't really helping me, and every time I had to tell myself, just relax. It's okay if you miss it, but the key factor is just relaxing your body, and eventually you'll get it. You want to use as little bit of motion as you can. Like there's no point like pushing it all the way when it's not going to go any farther. What happens, you have to understand how a stick works, is that there are actuators. This is not an analog control, not like your analogs on your thumb pads on the modern controllers. These are not analog, and the games are not designed to be analog. They're designed to be discrete, whereas like one input is either on or off. Like up is on or off, like down is on or off, forward is on or off, back is on or off. You hear the clicks. That's when the actuator hits, and that means it becomes on. That means I'm moving or I stop. So So you need to get the feel of when you've actually made something happen. You hear the click, you feel the click. You do it enough and eventually you don't really pay attention to it, you kind of just know. Also, you want to do things very slowly. You don't want to, like, people are trying to do things way too fast. You're like, quarter circle forward, like, but then when you're doing things way too fast, you get really sloppy with your inputs. So the best thing you can do, again, I compare it to playing an instrument, is doing things slow. Half speed, maybe even a quarter speed at first. Like, if you're having trouble doing a fireball and you're not getting it consistently, just do it slower. Down, down, forward, forward, punch. So down, down, forward, forward, punch. Then you speed it up a little bit. That's typically how I would approach things. Same with the dragon punch. It's like forward, down, forward, punch. Forward, down, forward, punch. And then you do a little faster. Eventually you can just like that. You become much faster and you're not really thinking about it anymore. You want to realize that this is all new to you if you're new to the stick. So you have to apply a little more brain power. I want to say, from you saw my last video about system 2 level thinking, you have to apply brain power at first to really think about, am I pushing the direction correctly? That's why if you're going all out, using all tens, doing way more inputs than you need to be, you can't really pay attention to the little nuances of how you're controlling the stick. That's why I emphasize on slowing it down so that you really pay attention to exactly how you do it. Because if you're used to doing something wrong and you keep doing it, eventually you kind of get it, but you're just so used to doing the one way and you're doing it wrong, it's really hard to undo that later to do it correctly. That's why we always emphasize technique first, make sure it's correct before moving on. That's with anything, with sports, with instruments. Make sure your technique is good and then you move forward so you don't develop bad habits. Same thing with fighting games and using a fight stick. Now let's go into actually using the fight stick. Now I give you some tips on how to use it. Here's some actual examples. Number 1, go into training mode, but always turn on your inputs. You really need to turn on your inputs. I have my inputs now too. Whenever I'm trying to learn new moves or techniques or custom combos, I gotta make sure when I mess up, I know what inputs I'm missing that's causing the game not to get me what I want. Always have your inputs on, especially in the beginning. You'll see it's like, oh, why is my fireball coming out? Well, you're hitting the punch button too early. I have that happen a lot, especially during custom combos. Your inputs have to be even more accurate because you can get input overlaps, you can get a move that you don't want. So you need to exactly push the buttons plus moving the levers exactly how you want it to. Have your inputs on. So your goal is to create coordination between your left hand and your right hand. When you're playing with a controller, you're probably using your thumbs, and maybe that's easier to coordinate, but now you gotta use more of your arm or your wrist. So it's a little more new behavior so your brain needs to get used to. You really have to coordinate. After you do the thing with your left hand, you hit the button with the right hand. So take it slow. Like I said in my last video, you want to practice one thing at a time. Let's say you're not consistent with your fireballs. So as I said, go slow, down, forward, fireball. Even in the old games like Street Fighter 2, the window's actually pretty big. But a lot of times, maybe you're hitting the punch too early, right? You might get this because you're not coordinated yet. So you look at the inputs like, oh, I'm hitting punch when I'm holding down forward. So that's why the fireball is not coming out. Once you get the rhythm down, it's all about rhythm. Then it becomes second nature. Do it 10 times in a row from left side, also right side. Right? I know a lot of people prefer one side over the other. I as well. It's just because the motion's different from each side. So you really have to practice both sides. Once you're good at doing that, I would suggest just go into like arcade mode. Don't even play a human. Just go into arcade mode. Run through arcade mode with being comfortable playing on the stick. Being able to do what you want to do, right? I want to do an air tatsu. I want to do a ground run. I want to do a dragon punch when I want to do. Right? I don't want to miss it and go like this. Oh, I missed. Oh. You want to be consistent. So having a moving target like the CPU in arcade mode, so you're still having fun, but then you're, without knowing it, you are getting better at your execution and your muscle memory is building in and how to do the moves. You don't need to tense up because there's not really nothing on the line. And if you find yourself tensing up, you can just slow down and say, all right, why am I tensing up? Is it because I'm afraid the move is not coming out? Well, then go back and practice move until you're comfortable with it you can do it without tensing up. That's how you eventually get better at your execution. And finally, you just want to take breaks. If you feel yourself get frustrated, just not getting it, that's okay. It's new to you. Tell yourself, give yourself some slacks. Like, it's new to me. Let me take a break. Your brain is still learning. It'll assimilate that information slowly. And the next time you try it, it might be a little bit easier. You'll find that it's a little easier. So take a break if you get frustrated. You only have, I want to say, like an hour at most of concentration at most. Then your brain kind of shuts off. You're not getting that much new information anyway, so good to take breaks. Let me know in the chats what you think about this video. If you're having any problems with your execution, what things you find hard to do or easy to do, or if you found something hard to do, you're able to overcome it with certain ways of making your execution better. Maybe you have some good tips for me. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and a thumbs up, and share it with your friends if you think it was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.